Imagine this. You're rushing your injured dog to the nearest animal hospital, your heart pounding, hands shaking, praying you're not too late. Then out of nowhere, a stranger steps in. A woman with kind eyes and steady hands who swoops in to save your best friend's life. Grateful beyond words, you fall for her, hard and fast. But what if I told you this wasn't fate? What if every smile, every touch, every whispered conversation was part of a carefully crafted lie? Because here's the twist. She wasn't just a good Samaritan. She was an investigative journalist, and you? You were her latest target. Welcome to a story where love and deception collide, where nothing is as it seems, and where the person who stole your heart might be the one destined to destroy it. If you've ever wondered how far someone would go for the truth, or how deep a lie could run, stick around. Because by the end of this video, you'll get answers to the questions burning in your mind. Can love survive betrayal? Can trust ever be rebuilt? And what happens when the person you'd risk everything for is the one holding the knife? Let's meet our characters. On one side, we have Ethan Carter. Wealthy, powerful, and fiercely private. A man who built an empire but keeps the world at arm's length, with only his loyal German shepherd, Duke, by his side. Then there's Lena Rhodes, the award-winning journalist known for her ruthless exposés. She's brilliant, fearless, and willing to do whatever it takes to uncover the truth, even if it means breaking a few hearts along the way. When her editor hands her a confidential file on Ethan, alleging secrets that could ruin him, she sees the story of a lifetime. But to get close, she needs an in. And when fate, or was it manipulation, places her in the right place at the right time to save Duke, she seizes her chance. What follows is a whirlwind romance filled with stolen glances, late-night confessions, and a love so intense it almost feels real. Almost. Because Lena's mission is clear. Gain Ethan's trust, uncover his secrets, and publish the story before he realizes who she really is. But here's the thing about lies. They're like quicksand. The deeper you go, the harder it is to escape. And as Lena digs, she starts noticing cracks in the narrative she's been fed. Why does Ethan flinch at the mention of his childhood? Who are the mysterious men following him? And why does his charity, the one she's supposed to expose, seem to be saving lives instead of exploiting them? The closer she gets to the truth, the more dangerous the game becomes. Because Ethan isn't just some corrupt CEO. He's a man with enemies, a past full of shadows, and a secret that could get them both killed. And when Lena stumbles upon a locked safe, a missing file, and a single name whispered in the dark, she realizes something terrifying. She's not the only one lying. So, here's my question for you, the person watching this right now. If you were Lena, would you walk away? Or would you keep digging, even if it meant destroying the man you've come to love? And if you were Ethan, could you ever forgive the woman who betrayed you, even if she did it for the right reasons? The answers are coming, but I warn you, nothing prepares you for the final twist. Don't go anywhere. Because in just a moment, the walls come crashing down, and the real story begins. Ethan Carter wasn't always the guarded, self-made billionaire he appeared to be. His past was a tapestry of pain, stitched together by loss and betrayal. Secrets he buried so deep even he sometimes forgot they existed. His father, a once respected surgeon, had been accused of malpractice in a scandal that destroyed their family name. Overnight, they went from wealth to ruin, and young Ethan learned the hard way that trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. That's why Duke meant everything to him. The dog wasn't just a pet. He was the only living thing Ethan had ever let in completely. So when Lena appeared out of nowhere, saving Duke from the speeding car that nearly killed him, it felt like fate. But fate doesn't plant evidence, and it doesn't carry a recorder in its purse. Lena Rhodes had built her career on exposing the corrupt, the powerful, and the untouchable. Her latest assignment? Digging into the rumors surrounding Ethan's charity, the Carter Foundation. Whispers of embezzlement, shadowy donors, and a trail of silenced whistleblowers had reached her editor's desk, and Lena was determined to be the one to break the story. But Ethan was different from her usual targets. He didn't flaunt his wealth, didn't court the media, and most puzzling of all, he seemed genuinely devoted to his foundation's work. That only made her more suspicious. The truly dangerous liars were the ones who made you want to believe them. So when she accidentally bumped into him at the dog park days after saving Duke, she played her role flawlessly. Charming, disarming, and just mysterious enough to keep him hooked. What neither of them knew was that they were being watched. A third player lurked in the shadows, someone with a vested interest in Ethan's downfall. Anonymous tips had been fed to Lena's editor, carefully crafted to lead her down a specific path. Meanwhile, Ethan's security team had flagged unusual activity. Break-in attempts at his penthouse, encrypted messages sent to his private server, and a growing sense that someone was pulling strings behind the scenes. But who? Rival corporations? A disgruntled former employee? Or something far more personal? The deeper Lena dug, the more inconsistencies she found. The financial discrepancies in the charity's records didn't add up, and the so-called victims of Ethan's alleged corruption were suddenly unreachable. Then there was the file she wasn't supposed to find. A single photograph of a young Ethan, standing beside a man whose face had been hastily scratched out. The closer Lena got to Ethan, the more the lines blurred. Late-night conversations turned into lingering touches, and the guilt gnawed at her in ways she hadn't anticipated. She told herself it was just part of the job, but when he opened up about his mother's death, the way his voice cracked when he admitted he still blamed himself, something inside her wavered. Meanwhile, Ethan, who had spent a lifetime building walls, found himself lowering them for her. He noticed the way she stiffened at certain questions, the way her phone was always face down, the way she avoided talking about her past. But love makes fools of us all, and he chose to ignore the red flags. Then the first threat arrived. A typed note slipped under Lena's apartment door. Stop digging, or he's next. The message was clear, but who sent it? Was it a warning from Ethan's enemies, or a test from her own editor? That same night, Ethan's head of security intercepted a breach in their system. Someone had accessed files marked Project Phoenix, a name that turned Ethan's blood to ice. It was a chapter of his life he'd sworn to keep buried, a secret that could unravel everything. Now, with Lena growing bolder in her investigation and an unseen adversary closing in, the stakes were higher than ever. And then came the phone call. Lena's informant, a former Carter Foundation employee, had finally agreed to meet. But when she arrived at the designated spot, the woman was gone. All that remained was a single USB drive left on the table, its contents encrypted except for one audio file. The voice on the recording was unmistakable. Ethan's. But the words he spoke didn't match the man she thought she knew. Asterisk, if anyone finds out the truth, we're all dead. Asterisk. The game had changed. Lena was no longer just a journalist hunting a story. She was a pawn in something much bigger. And Ethan? He was about to discover that the woman he loved was the one person he should never have trusted. But before either of them could react, Duke vanished. No ransom note, no demands, just an empty leash and a single ominous text to Ethan's phone. You should have stayed in the shadows. Now, with time running out and loyalties crumbling, both are forced to ask, who's really pulling the strings? And how far will they go to survive the truth? The answers are coming, but trust me, you're not ready for what happens next. The moment Ethan's phone buzzed with that chilling message, the world as he knew it split in two. Every instinct screamed at him to call Lena. She'd been his anchor through the chaos, the one person who made him feel like he wasn't drowning, but something stopped him. The timing was too perfect. Duke gone, the USB drive surfacing, Lena's sudden intensity whenever she asked about Project Phoenix. Coincidence? He'd stopped believing in those a long time ago. Meanwhile, Lena sat in her car, hands shaking as she replayed the audio file for the 10th time. That was Ethan's voice, no question. But the context was missing. Was it a threat? A warning? Or something worse? The deeper she dug, the more the pieces refused to fit. The encrypted files on the USB contained blueprints, not for a corporate cover-up, but for a medical breakthrough tied to his father's old research. Why would someone want that buried? And why was her editor suddenly refusing her calls? Then came the break she hadn't expected. A missed call from an unknown number led her to a downtown parking garage, where a hooded figure slid a folder into her hands before vanishing into the shadows. Inside were surveillance photos. Ethan meeting with a man she recognized from Interpol's most wanted list. Her stomach dropped. Had she been played from the start? But the next photo flipped the script entirely. The same man, years earlier, standing beside Ethan's father. The caption scrawled underneath. Asterisk, he's not the villain. He's the target. Asterisk, sent her mind reeling. Nothing about this story was what it seemed. Across town, Ethan tore through his penthouse, searching for anything that could lead him to Duke. That's when he found it, a hidden compartment in Duke's collar, one he'd never seen before, containing a microchip. The moment he plugged it in, his screen filled with classified documents about his father's last experiment, a project so controversial it had been erased from history. And at the bottom of the file, a single name. Lena Rhodes. Not the journalist. The patient. The revelation hit like a gut punch. Lena had no memory of it. No idea she'd been part of a clinical trial as a child, one that had gone horribly wrong. The headaches she'd blamed on stress, the nightmares she could never explain, they weren't random. They were echoes. And Ethan's father had been the one to save her life. Now, someone was using her to finish what they'd started years ago. Burying the truth and everyone connected to it. But who? The answer came in the form of a live feed popping up on Ethan's laptop. Duke, alive but trapped in a concrete room, a timer ticking down above him. The voice on the other end was distorted, but the message was clear. Asterisk, bring her to the old lab by midnight, or the dog dies. And Lena? She'll wish she'd never remembered. Asterisk. Time was running out. Lena, still reeling from the photos, barely registered her phone lighting up with Ethan's name. When she answered, his voice was raw with desperation. Not anger but a plea. Asterisk, meet me. Nah. I know what they did to you. Asterisk, the word sent ice through her veins. He knew. Which meant everything between them had been a lie? Or had it? The footage of Duke flashed through her mind. This wasn't just about a story anymore. Someone had been pulling their strings from the beginning, and the only way out was through the fire. As they raced toward their final confrontation, the real question loomed. Were they walking into a trap, or the truth? One thing was certain, by the time the clock struck midnight, nothing would ever be the same. And just when you think you've figured it out, think again. Because the twist waiting in that lab? It's going to rewrite everything. Don't miss what happens next. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because trust me, you do not want to miss the finale. The old research lab loomed ahead like a forgotten nightmare, its crumbling walls whispering secrets Lena wasn't sure she wanted to remember. Every step toward the entrance felt like walking into her own past. A past she hadn't even known was missing. Ethan moved beside her, his jaw set, eyes scanning for threats, but she could see the cracks in his armor. The man who never showed fear was terrified. Not for himself, but for Duke, for her, for the truth about to detonate between them. The moment they pushed through the rusted doors, the smell of antiseptic and decay hit them like a physical blow. Flickering lights revealed a scene straight out of a horror film. Medical equipment covered in dust, files scattered like bones, and at the center of it all, Duke, whimpering in a cage hooked to that relentless countdown. But it was the figure standing beside him that made Lena's blood turn to ice. Her editor. Not just her boss, but the man who'd orchestrated everything from the start, the leaked rumors, the anonymous tips, even the accidental meeting with Ethan. Only now, under the sickly fluorescent glow, did she recognize him from the photos in the file. He'd been there the night the original experiment failed, he'd been the one to cover it up. And now, 20 years later, he was back to finish the job. You weren't supposed to remember, he said, voice slick with false sympathy. But you dug too deep, both of you. And now you've left me no choice. The gun in his hand glinted as he leveled it at Duke. Ethan lunged forward, but it was Lena who moved faster, not toward the editor, but toward a rusted control panel on the wall. Her fingers flew over the switches, muscle memory guiding her despite the years of suppressed trauma. The lights surged, the machines whirred to life, and suddenly, the room was bathed in the glow of a projector screen flickering to life. Security footage from that fateful night played before them. Lena as a child, strapped to a gurney, Ethan's father frantically working to save her as the editor, younger but unmistakable, argued with him. Asterisk, she's just one patient. Bury the data and walk away. Asterisk, but Dr. Carter had refused. The experimental treatment had worked. Lena's rare condition had been reversed, but the side effects meant the project would be shut down. Worse, it meant someone powerful would lose billions in failed investments. The editor's voice on the tape was venomous. Asterisk, if you publish these results, you're dead. Asterisk then. Gunfire. A struggle. The screen went black. Silence. The truth was worse than they'd imagined. Ethan's father hadn't just been disgraced. He'd been murdered. And Lena? She was the living proof of his discovery. The reason the editor had spent years erasing every trace of the trial. The reason he'd sent her after Ethan, to discredit him, destroy him, and finally bury the past for good. But he'd underestimated one thing. The bond between the two people who'd unwittingly been tied together by fate. As the editor raised the gun again, Duke erupted from the cage, the latch loosened by Lena's distraction, and tackled him to the ground. In the chaos, Ethan grabbed a fallen fire extinguisher and swung. Once, hard, and just like that, it was over. Police sirens wailed in the distance. The timer on Duke's cage froze with 3 seconds left. And Lena, trembling, reached for Ethan's hand as the weight of it all crashed over them. The lies. The loss. The twisted irony that the story she'd been sent to uncover was her own. But in the wreckage of the truth, something unexpected took root: redemption. Ethan's father's research, once buried, could now save thousands. The editor's arrest would expose the corruption that had haunted both their lives. And as for the two of them? They stood in the wreckage of the lies that brought them together, but for the first time, they saw each other clearly. The final twist? That USB drive Lena found, the one with Ethan's voice, wasn't a threat. It was a message he'd recorded years ago, a fail-safe in case the truth ever came out. Asterisk, if anyone finds out what really happened, we're all dead. Asterisk, not a warning to hide. A plea to fight. As dawn broke over the city, Ethan and Lena walked away from the lab, Duke trotting between them. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There were headlines to face, wounds to heal, and a past to reclaim. But for the first time, they weren't alone. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. So what's the takeaway from this wild ride? That the deepest lies are the ones we tell ourselves. That love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing someone, flaws and all, even when the truth tries to tear you apart. And most of all, never underestimate a good dog. If this story gripped you, shocked you, or made you feel something, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. What would you have done in their shoes? And don't forget to subscribe, because trust me, the next story? It's even bigger.